Hello, welcome back to On the Clock Podcast, your center for the NFL Draft. Today, we have, as always, Donovan's Top 10, the last one, as next week will be our finale. Kind of sad, but we're not gonna talk about that right now. And then we're bringing you Underdogs, our new segment, which we're talking about our underrated prospects, and then finish it off with Love It or Hate It. So without further ado, let's get into it.
All right, final top 10. I'm kind of sad. We didn't get to talk about every position. That's why we tried to incorporate it into the segments we've done over the past, few weeks. So let's get into it. Today we are talking off-ball linebackers, middle linebackers, inside linebackers, or linebackers in general, whatever you want to call it. Let's start off number 10 out of Alabama. I have Deontay Lawson. He's got good play awareness. He's a little bit small for a linebacker. He's not a big run game guy. But I also thought he was a little bit clumsy. Kind of doesn't put his best effort out there. I know it sounds like I'm kind of dogging on him. These were just the bigger red flags for why I had him at 10 and not higher than these guys. But he is the occasional playmaker in coverage. He's going to help out there. And he's 117th on my big board, so it's about 5th round. Move in, number 9. A guy I'm a little low on is Jake Golday out of Cincinnati. He's 82nd on my big board. He's quick to the ball, but he doesn't take great angles. Not the fastest physical instincts, but a fairly smart player overall. Plays a decent amount of edge rusher. I thought he was a lot better in zone coverage than he was in man. But he's got good speed and even better acceleration. He's a solid run defender. He had his moments. He wasn't spectacular, and that's why I got him at 9. Number 8, I actually would have had this guy in our underdog segment, or my guys list, if I didn't have him here, if I wasn't talking about him now. But it is Caleb Elarms-Orr out of TCU. He is 72nd on my big board. I'm very high on him. I think he is a crazy good run defender, maybe even elite, or at least on the borderline. He's got a crazy combination of speed and power and is super explosive at the snap. I thought he had super good play recognition as well, and you can really just tell he loves to be out there. He loves to hit. I thought he's also a very talented blitzer. Number 7, pit boy, local boy, Kyle Lewis. He's number 69 on my big board. He had the speed of a safety or a corner for a reason. He has great instincts in coverage and great ball skills. I thought his footwork really stood out as in a good way. He's really just all-around playmaker in all aspects of the game. He was a force in the run game. He's a sneaky good pass rusher. And I thought his block shedding is also under the radar, very effective. So let's move on to 6. This is the other guy that I'm fairly low on. It is Anthony Hill Jr. out of Texas. A lot of people have him as their linebacker 4 for the most part. I think the 3 are pretty definitive. I have him at 6. I thought he had great speed for his position, great play awareness, super effective in the run game. I thought he made a great second effort, but I thought he was just all right in coverage. He didn't stand out as much as he did, I guess, to other people. That's why I have him at 66. And for the last time, Tyler, before we get into the top 5, is there anybody I left out?
Yeah, I would say Harold Perkins Jr. out of LSU. He's a guy who was really productive earlier in his career. He had 146 tackles and 13 sacks in his first 2 seasons combined, but then he had an ACL injury that cut his 2024 season short, and he kind of lacked that explosiveness and that burst that he had earlier in his career this past season. So that might be the reason you might have left him out of your top 10, and that's why I also have him as a day 3 pick.
Yeah, I think he's going to fall right around that day 3 range, or right in that day 3 range. All right, let's move into the top 5. At number 5, I think he was the first guy off the Heisman finalist list. It is Texas Tech linebacker Jacob Rodriguez. And I have a lot to say about this guy. I thought he was incredibly smart, super quick instincts. He was an elite run defender and a huge part of why Texas Tech's defense, and especially their front 7, was so successful this year. He was constantly ending up behind the line of scrimmage at the end of plays. He makes plays on the ball. He causes turnovers. He led the FBS in fumbles. Not great in man coverage. I thought he over-pursued on a few plays, and he is a little undersized, which that might be why teams potentially pass on him. But Tyler, at the end of the day, he was undoubtedly one of, if not the best defensive player in college football this year. So maybe it's his size, but what do you think, and why is he so low on teams' boards?
Well, one of the reasons I think is how you pointed out, he's kind of undersized for his position. But then I also feel like his athleticism is a little bit average. He doesn't have the best speed to chase down players or the burst when he's breaking in on plays. but he has a very good football IQ. He has great instincts. He's always he's jumping ahead and he's getting ahead of the play, but he just doesn't quite have that athleticism, I feel like, to kind of wrap it all up and finish the play completely. But like you said, he's one of the best, if not the best defensive player this year in college football. And I think part of that was just because of how high of a football IQ, how he was able to predict the plays that were coming.
Do you think teams are going to regret passing on him?
I feel like they might. I feel like he might go in the later rounds, and he might be one of those guys that are just a later day steal.
Yeah. All right. Let's move into the top 4. This is another guy I am super high on. I'm not seeing him this high at all. It is number 4, my number 4 linebacker, Josiah Trotter out of Mizzou, brother of Philadelphia Eagle Jeremiah Trotter Jr. He is 51st on my big board. I thought he had great bend. He was a big hitter and a great tackler. That was probably looked at as his best trait. His speed wasn't anything crazy impressive, but I thought overall he was an unbelievable run defender. He didn't show too much in coverage. He was mainly just on the field in rushing downs. When he was in coverage, I thought he was okay in zone coverage, not really that good in man coverage. But I could see him being a full-time edge rusher in the league. I thought he really excelled there. Tyler, I'm very high on him. Is that value validated, you think? Are you with me or not?
To an extent, I think he can be explosive, and he's more around like the 6th best maybe in this position in my opinion. I think he's more towards the back half of the top 10. I still think he's a day 2 pick. I just feel like there's some guys that you might have behind him that are above him in my opinion, but I think it's validated to an extent.
Yeah, I think he's going to end up right in that 2nd or 3rd round. I have him 51st, so that'd be a 2nd round pick, but we'll see. Let's head into the top 3. I think these guys are all going to be 1st round picks. I know the top 2 will be. They'll probably both be top 10. But number 3, it is C.J. Allen out of Georgia. He's 17th on my big board. I'll start off with the red flags because there were a few at first. I thought he seemed a little hesitant. His physical traits didn't really overwhelm me. None really stood out to me. And he wasn't a great pass rusher. But when you look at the upside and the green flags he has, he's a very smart player similar to Rodriguez. He has super long arms, which played to his advantage. And he's just an overall playmaker. He's going to be at the ball. He's a hard hitter when he gets the chance. And he's just an incredible tackler. That really stood out to me. He really doesn't miss tackles that often at all. Let's get into the top 2. Both top 5 players in this entire draft class. Number 2 is Sonny Styles out of Ohio State. He is 5th on my big board. He played a lot of different roles. He was a middle linebacker. He was an outside linebacker. He was an edge rusher. He really did it all. He was more of a speed rusher than a power rusher when he's on the defensive line and going at the quarterback or at the running back. I thought he complemented Arvell Reese super well, who we'll get to in just a second. He didn't have much of a pass rushing bag, and I thought he was a little conservative, a little too hesitant sometimes, but that can all be developed. He was a very good tackler, and I'm just kind of scared to what defensive coordinators, the high-level defensive coordinators could do with him. I mean, I don't think he's going to be there, but if the Vikings were to somehow trade up and get him, what Brian Flores would be able to do with him.
I'm terrified.
I'm terrified. He can be used anywhere. But Tyler, how will him playing along a guy like Arvell Reese, who I'm about to talk to, benefit him in the league?
I think playing alongside Arvell Reese at Ohio State this year created a very versatile, high-level linebacker partnership, which really prepares him for the NFL level. It gave him elite coverage skills, experience in multiple defensive front 7 roles, and just overall high-intensity competition. So I think it already gave him experience about like what it's going to be like playing alongside another high-level linebacker like that. So I think it was huge.
Yeah. All right. Well, speaking of Arvell Reese, he is, not much question, my linebacker 1. He is 2nd on my big board, just behind Jeremiah Love, who you guys are all familiar with at this point if you've been keeping up with the show. But Arvell Reese, super elite in the run game. He is always at the ball at the end of the play, super smart at the line of scrimmage, had a really quick first step, very patient, but his quickness just makes up for it. I think there's a possibility that he plays, maybe not strictly, but for the most part, edge rusher in the league because his coverage was not great. He got a little lost on deeper routes, but I thought he was more developed. I think he's more instinctive than Sonny Styles, which is the reason I have him 1. Both out of Ohio State. One last question for you in the top 10 segment, Tyler. Does his weak coverage ability worry you at all?
Yeah, not really personally. Personally, I have him as the best overall player in this draft. I know you said he's number 2. And I think he has the skill set to be an elite linebacker and be very comparable to guys like Micah Parsons and T.J. Watt. I'm not worried about his weaker coverage skills. I just think some development and adjustments will improve his coverage abilities and really round out what should be a very, very dangerous player in this league.
I'm with you there.
All right. I don't want it to end.
I know.
Can we talk about another top 10?
Don't be sad it's over. Be happy it happens. What is that the saying?
Something like that. That's it for our last top 10 here. Thank you for the linebackers, Donovan. We're moving into underdogs now. The guys are giving their underrated prospects for this draft class. So, Tyler, let's start with you here.
So for my first underrated player, is how you say his first name? Is it Damon?
I think it's Damon.
Damon. I have Damon Claiborne, a running back out of Wake Forest. I think he might be one of the fastest running backs this class has to offer. It's kind of slept on. He has plays where he hits good angles and gets in the open field before getting in the end zone, and I think he can be kind of comparable to Anthony McFarland, who's a little bit on the low as well. But he ran a 4.37 40-yard dash at the combine. He has some really good lateral quickness, and he can really hit the gaps and make defenders miss. But I feel like he could be limited as a speed threat because in the NFL, I don't think it's going to be as easy to break tackles. His vision can be a little bit inconsistent as he fumbled the ball 4 times this year. Those are things that will get him benched very quickly, but he could be a big play running back. Put him in there on 2nd or 3rd down. He can get explosive movements, and he could be, like I said, he could hit the gaps and get in the end zone for any team.
I like it. All right, Donovan, tell us about your number 1 here. This guy has, like, the coolest name ever. It is quite the name.
It is. These are all guys on my guys list. Anyone that keeps up with the draft at an unreasonable amount like I do knows that everyone really has a my guys list, which is just underrated people. And the number 1 guy on mine, well, not in the order, I'm saving him for last, but one of the guys on him is Ephesians Prysock, the corner out of Washington. He is my personal corner 16 so far. He is 123rd on my big board, but compared to ESPN, he is 158 on theirs. So I think he's an underdog. I think he's being underrated. He was a super sticky press corner. I thought he had the speed to stay with most receivers. He was aggressive at the catch point. His footwork was super clean and quick. He was really good in zone coverage, and I think he's super underrated in man coverage. And did I mention he is 6'4"? I don't think I did. All we've talked about this year is how the wide receiver class has so much size when you have a guy like Prysock who is 6'4" and can play at the level that they can. I think that is an incredible underrated value. And he got the corner 1 role with Tacario Davis being injured for a lot this year, and he succeeded. And I think he's going to be a very good corner, at least a lot better than I think he's going to go. I think he's going to go round 4, round 5. Any higher than that would be a surprise to me. I think that even maybe be a little bit of a reach, but I think he's going to surprise some people in the league.
I think we would too. With a name like Prysock,
Dude,
you got to be good.
It's electric.
I'm just imagining
if he goes to the Eagles, I might get his jersey.
I'm just imagining picked off by Prysock.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm ready for it. Anyway, Tyler, tell us about your other guy here.
For my next guy, I have Ted Hurst, a wide receiver out of Georgia State. And he's 6'4", 206 pounds, and at that height, that size, you'd expect him to be kind of a contested catch merchant a little bit. But he's good in those situations, but he's able to also break off routes well. He can create very good separation, and he, like I said, he can create that separation at the top of his routes like a much smaller player, so he kind of plays a little bit down to his size, maybe you could say, while also making those contested catches in traffic.
All right, let's keep it rolling here. Donovan, go ahead.
I'm going to stay on the defensive side and go with Nadame Tucker out of Western Michigan. He is my 20th overall defensive end. This is a big difference. He is 125th on my big board. When we look at ESPN, he is 279. So over 150 players different. But I thought he had a quick ability to identify the run and get in the backfield. He wasn't a big power guy. He was relying more on his finesse. He has good speed to power. He was very fast off the line, probably why he's not relying on his power as much. He has incredible bend. He didn't really have a super deep bag again. I have him as my 20th overall defensive end. I just think he's a super underrated guy. Maybe it's the looks because he went to a school like Western Michigan and is a bit smaller, and you want to see a little bit more production out of guys like that. But I think he's going to have more success than people are thinking about him in the league.
Absolutely. All right, Tyler, I'm seeing your number 3 here. I'm very interested in this one.
I believe it's Sam Roush.
Yeah, I think
That
so.
how,
yeah.
That's how you say his last name? Okay. Sam Roush, he's a tight end from Stanford. He's a guy, I don't think his blocking is perfect, but he's got a good enough effort and good technique to make an impact. His receiving profile isn't anything crazy, but he's a very functional pass catcher. He can run solid routes. He knows how to use his big body. And he's also Stanford's prime target this past season, believe it or not. He can be a quality starter with just a little bit of polish, a little bit of development in this league. I think he might be a sneaky good pickup on day 3 and really develop over the next 2 years and become one of the maybe a more known tight end name.
I love that pick. I was this close to putting him on my list when I did it. He's my tight end 3, so I'm all with you there, Tyler. You want me to go to my last one, though?
Go ahead, bring us home for Underdogs.
This is my biggest underdog, my guy. It is Markel Bell, the offensive tackle out of Miami. That's not Francis Mauigoa. Get ready for this. He is my offensive tackle 7, 37th on my big board. ESPN has him at 186. I think that's straight up disrespectful. He is massive, 6'9", 345 pounds. But even with how big he is, his mobility I did not see as an issue. His arms are, of course, going to be super long, and he just uses them so well. I thought it was just unfair. He had beautiful footwork and a beautiful kick step. He will very, very occasionally bite on like an inside jump, but I don't think that's going to be something that should prevent a team from selecting him. And I really just don't know why he's getting the same hype as a guy like Caden Proctor, who is getting so much hype due to his size and raw strength. But I think Markel Bell, well, I know he's bigger, and he seems to be more developed, so I'm not sure why he's not getting the same hype. I think he's going to be an absolute steal. I think he's worth a second-round pick, and we'll see where he goes.
All right. Appreciate it, guys. That's going to do for Underdogs here. Let's move in to the last one. Love it or hate it. As always, I have hypothetical drafts. Ravens fan again, I love it. I have hypothetical draft situations for the guys. This one I made a little bit interesting because some of these kind of reaches, but it could work. So let's get into it. Number 1 here, I have Joshua Josephs, the edge out of Tennessee, going to the Bears at number 60. Donovan, I'm going to let you take this one.
All right. Well, Joshua Josephs was a guy I was originally somewhat high on. He was like my defensive end 8, I think, when I did top 10. I have since moved him down. Let me take a look real quick. I moved him down significantly. He is my defensive end 12 now, and I moved him down on my big board. I don't know where at specifically, but I think what we've seen from the Bears, especially in the first round, is that they're looking for pass rushers. Joshua Josephs is more of a run defender off the edge. I think if you are able to get a pass rusher in the first 2 rounds, which I don't know why you wouldn't be able to, taking a guy like Josephs isn't out of the picture. It isn't weird or anything. I don't think it would be to take 2 defensive ends. However, I think they have bigger issues. You just had Drew Dahlman retire, so you need a center. Maybe you look for an interior defensive tackle. I just don't think a run-defending defensive end is necessarily what you need, especially with a pick so early at 60 in the second round. So I'm going to go with hate it.
Valid. This one was one of my reaches along with the next one. So I just threw it in there because they do need some pass protection, but as you said, they would probably get it in the earlier rounds unless they do something outrageous. But yeah, hate it for that one. Completely understandable. Tyler, let's go number 2 to you. I have Jennings Dunker, Big Red, amazing mullet, tackle out of
Friend
Iowa.
of the podcast, maybe.
Going to the Lions at number 50 overall.
I love this pick. This would be a steal for them. Their offensive line is definitely going to be a point of emphasis. They lost Frank Ragnow and Taylor Decker. The Panay Sewell is presumably moving from right to left tackle, and I think the Lions are going to address this position early. If Jennings Dunker is there, this would be a home run pick for them. Dan Campbell would love it. And that would be a very great pick for them, especially at 50th overall. This would be a slam dunk pick.
Yes, obviously what you just said. No more Frank Ragnow, and obviously I think Dunker's going to fit with Dan Campbell just right.
Oh my gosh, they would get along so
They
much.
both look insane. But yeah, I think if he's there at 50, you take him. Really stack that O-line. All right, moving on to number 3 here. This one's for Donovan. I did one for Eagles and Steelers for Tyler. Little surprise for the last one here. But number 3, I have Malachi Lawrence, the edge out of UCF, going to the Eagles at 54.
I can't tell you how much I would love it. I actually did. That's funny. I did a mock draft today, 7 rounds for the Eagles, and I had them taking him. What pick did you have?
54.
Yeah, I think that's what I had, the second rounder. I had them going Malachi Lawrence, and I couldn't tell you how much I love it. I think safety and defensive end are probably the 2 biggest needs for this Eagles team heading into next season. I think safety is undoubtedly going to get addressed in the first round, whether it's Thieneman or McNeil Warren. If none of them are available, then you look somewhere else. But if those 2 are available, you better believe one of them is coming to Philly. In the second round, you got to look for a defensive end and specifically a pass rusher. That is exactly what you get out of Malachi Lawrence. You're getting a fast, big, 6'4", 250-pound speed edge rusher off the line to pair with Nolan Smith, to pair with Jalix Hunt, to pair with Arnold Ebiketie, the new signing, and potentially even Brandon Graham. I love it. I love Malachi Lawrence. I love him to be in Philly.
Oh, I'm glad you love it.
I love it. Thank you for giving me that.
Next one, I don't know if Tyler will love this one that much. This one was another reach for me. I have Jalen Farmer, the guard out of Kentucky, going to the Steelers at number 85 overall.
Yeah, I personally don't like this one at all. I think at this point in the draft, I hope that we would have addressed the offensive line already. And especially if Vega Ione is still available and on the board for us for our pick in round 1, I would really hope that they would pick him. And like I said, I would rather see this pick used on a wide receiver or a safety or any other position really, because at this point in the draft, I really hope we have already addressed the offensive line, and I hope that it is not at this point where this is where we're at, and we have to go with this. So I don't like it.
I hope you guys address the offensive line earlier too.
I hope you guys take a quarterback in the first round.
All right, let's keep it rolling here. Number 5, Grayson Halton, defensive lineman out of Oklahoma, to the Texans at number 70 overall.
Yeah, so I am a fan of Grayson Halton. He is 79th on my big board. I just looked. So I think it'll be a little bit of a reach, but when you're in the third round, it's kind of like, people are going to be all over big boards and everything. I think the biggest emphasis for the Texans, sorry, I lost what team I was talking about, is the offensive line, but I can't imagine that wouldn't be addressed in the first 2 picks at all. So I think if you're going to go anywhere on defense, it should be defensive tackle. It's Tommy Togiai, Sheldon Rankins, and I think they signed Logan Hall this offseason. I am not opposed to that. I'm going to say I love it. This defense is a force, and that's only just going to improve them.
Yep. I think, as you said, defensive lineman, big, could be a big acquisition for the Texans here. All right, moving on to the last one for Lover to Hate It. Keelan Rutledge, the guard out of Georgia Tech, to the Buccaneers at number 77 overall. Go ahead, Tyler.
I personally don't like this pick either. Like I didn't like the last one. I think that their primary offseason needs to focus more on strengthening the defense, especially at their edge rusher and cornerback and inside linebacker. Those are really what needs to be focused on, and adding either maybe tight ends or wide receivers. I just think that they need to focus way more on the defensive line and filling those holes rather than going with a guard on the offensive line personally.
All right, give me 1 second here because I don't know, find it. Whatever. There was a tight end around this range for the Buccaneers, so if they were to select that tight end, I'm blanking on his name. Would that be better than taking a guard?
I think that would be better. They need more help at the tight end in that area.
What school was he out of? I'll let you know. Oh, you don't know?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know anything.
Okay.
Wait, do I?
Oscar Dell, Sam
Oh,
Roush,
wait.
Michael Trigg, Justin Jolly, Jack Andrews, Max Clare, Eli Raridon, Joe Royer. It's got to be one of these guys.
Was it Sam Roush?
Where's
I think it was Sam Roush.
second Sam Roush mention.
Yeah, but anyway, I was between the guard. I was between Rutledge and Roush. But Buccaneers, your move. All right, that's going to do it for Love or Hate It. And this episode this week, second to last one, finale for season 1 will be next week. And then draft will be Thursday. Anything else? No?
I was going to say, I haven't actually talked to you guys about it, but I wanted to do a segment next week where we answer questions about the draft that people might have.
Yes.
So if you have questions, comment them or DM us on Instagram, or we'll post a story and you can put it in there.
Yes.
That was all I had to say.
Single digits.
Single digits.
9 days away.
Let's do it. I'm
all
so
right.
excited.
All right, well, that's going to do it this week. We'll catch you next week for a finale. Thank you for tuning in.